Woof woof! Hey guys, it's me Marcus, aka the Mad Dog, and thank you for tuning in. So you might be like me and you've only recently heard that DC is doing its own kind of stay-at-home convention event that's called Fandome, and it's coming out on the 22nd of August. They're going to be doing virtual panels similar to what they would have done at Comic Con so that we can see some of the footage and watch some interviews with some of the cast and the crew for the projects that they've got on the horizon. It's unfortunate that these circumstances occurred in the first place and that Comic Con had to be cancelled, but this is the best substitute that we've got. And it's just nice that for once I'm going to find stuff out at the same time as the US rather than having to wait 4 months later. Kinda like what's happening with the omnibuses at the moment. But when they originally posted the website, they had a list of the films that are coming up and there was 2 that were just titled Secret Film. Since it was pointed out to them, DC deleted those titles, but we still know that there's at least 2 films that are going to be announced at this upcoming event. But because of that, all we can do at this moment is speculate, and you can bet I am going to speculate the hell out of this. I have no kind of insider knowledge, but I'm here with the 10 films that I think have a chance that DC might announce. So coming in at number 10, I think we've got a slim chance of there being some kind of Swamp Thing movie coming out. Now obviously the sales of comic books and omnibuses are so slim in comparison to these multi-billion pound films, so you can't always use the comics and the popularity of stuff like that to actually decide what might bring out a film, but sometimes it does actually give you a good indication. And recently we've seen an absolutely massive resurgence when it comes to Swamp Thing. So the Alan Moore run's being given some absolute editions, the Nancy Collins run has been given an omnibus, we've also seen a new 52 Swamp Thing omnibus coming out early next year, which don't get me started, I'm still annoyed about that. But whether you love the films or not, we do have to admit that the DCEU films so far have fallen quite short of the expectations that were there. Big names like Superman and the Justice League haven't really brought in the big money like they thought they would originally. So DC may be willing to take something completely out of left field, and I think it might actually be Swamp Thing that might get a chance. We've seen crazier things happen in the DCEU, particularly with the Batman film that's coming out with Robert Pattinson. We've seen that they're not willing to break a bit away from the schedule that they previously had. But I do think it's very slim and unlikely, but if they were to take a chance on a character that not many people know in the wider world, I think Swamp Thing might be the one. And as well, they can go into more of a horror genre with it and do kind of more psychological events that they haven't really been able to do with the other DCEU films. Coming in at number 9, I think we might get a New Gods film announced. Now the buzz around Darkseid, particularly with that 30-second trailer that they showed of the Snyder Cut of Justice League, it shows that there is actually quite a lot of love for this character, but given that DC's already seen some of that buzz and they've seen that Marvel's already going in the direction of the Eternals and they're kind of doing ethereal projects like that, it might mean that DC's quick to the punch and they might rush out a New Gods film. It's clear that they want to cast someone as Darkseid so that he can be a big bad guy, and if they're trying to somehow resurrect the remnants of the previous DCEU, this might actually be a good move. In a similar way that we saw Thanos throughout other films before he actually became a main villain for the Avengers, they might want to do the same thing with Darkseid. And we've also heard some rumours that this might already be on the cards, so I think a New Gods film isn't completely unlikely to be announced in August. Number 8, I've got Flashpoint. Now we know that there's meant to be a Flash film coming out, and obviously there's some kind of controversy surrounding Ezra Miller. It's been so back and forth on this that I know that I said I wasn't going to mention films that have already been announced, but Flashpoint, it feels like it never actually was. We heard that there was going to be a Flash film, and we also heard that it might tie into Flashpoint. However, those connections haven't really been brought together, and especially with the fact that it seems like they want to do a soft reboot of the DCEU, it makes sense that you do a Flashpoint film so that you can sort of get away with that. DC can effectively here fix a lot of the problems that people had with some of the previous films and also keep some of the things that they actually liked. So by doing this, you may be able to get away with maybe having a different Batman if Ben Affleck doesn't want to return, but at the same time, if they want to keep the current run of Wonder Woman films going, they can just do this and effectively do it through Flashpoint. Number 7, and I know this is quite vague, but I've literally just put some kind of new project featuring Ben Affleck as Batman. I'm not too sure about you, but I feel like the Ben Affleck story as Batman is kind of unfinished. We got a glimmer of hope that he was going to be something really good, but he just seems to have been so broken down with what happened in the DCEU. However, since the announcement of the Snyder Cut, and whether you think that that's a good idea moving forward or a bad idea, it seems that it's rejuvenated some of the love for what people liked from the DCEU before. And admittedly, even though I wasn't too big of a fan of a lot of those films, I actually really like Ben Affleck as Batman as well, and it's mainly because of the rumours that we've heard over the last couple of weeks, but I thought this also could have been something that might be a Michael Keaton returning as Batman movie. It's possible that could be Batman Beyond, but admittedly I think Batman Beyond might be too confusing for the majority of audiences who don't know a lot about comics. That's what we've got to think, admittedly, and unfortunately comic book movies aren't made for people who actually read comics. So I think bringing back somebody who's recognisable in the role but maybe taking a slightly different turn in terms of the story that they're going to do could actually be a smart move from the DC universe. However, and this is where I'm likely to be sound clipped in case I'm ever wrong, but I think it's more likely that Michael Keaton might return as Batman rather than Ben Affleck. Affleck. Number 6, and call it wishful thinking, but I've got a Nightwing movie. Batman is a big commodity, but admittedly, having so many Batman related projects coming out at once might be difficult, especially considering how many times I have to say the word Batman. I think it'd be a great move for the DCEU to branch out into other forms of Batman related media. Yeah, admittedly the Harley Quinn film didn't really bring in any money, the Joker film was sort of its own thing anyway, and that Batwoman show is something that admittedly I'm not really going to talk about, but why not take a leap of faith, and if you're going to do it with anybody, take it with somebody who's a former acrobat and do it with Nightwing. Now yeah, I know that there's been rumours circulating that the Robin suit that we saw in the glass case belonged to Dick Grayson, and it was Dick Grayson who's apparently died, which better be incorrect or I'm not giving Zack Snyder another chance. But Nightwing's one of those characters that I feel is sort of on the cusp of not just being a comic property that people in the comic book community know, but he's not completely in the mainstream just yet. I feel like he's in that middle point, because obviously he featured quite heavily in the Titans show, and he did also have a cameo appearance in the Arkham Knight game. This would be a great way of re-establishing the love that people have for the Batman brand and the Bat family, whilst also exposing people to some of the finer details of it. You could make it a lot more grounded. It could be Batman without the majority of his gadgets. You could put him against Two-Face or Penguin and have him just going up against somebody who's kind of the mob mafia type. I think that would be a great film, and I'd be there on day one, and not just because of the fact that it's Nightwing, because let's be honest, yeah, I'd be there regardless, but because I think doing this would be a strong move from DC to show that they actually consider all the characters that they've got in the universe. Before I get into my next pick, if you're enjoying this video, remember to give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't done so already, remember to subscribe and click that bell notification. Number 5, and I don't know why I didn't put it as the one before, but I've got Secret 6. Now when we've seen that screenshot that's been circulating of the list of films that were coming out, it literally said Secret Film 1 and Secret Film 2. What if the word secret was a hint towards what we're getting? Now yeah, on the surface there are quite a lot of similarities between the Suicide Squad and Secret 6. It's a ragtag team of villains assembling together to try and take out a common threat, and there's always that belief that one of the members of the team is kind of working against all the others. I haven't actually read a lot of Secret 6 runs, but I've heard a lot about it, and I think that it'd be good of DC, considering the fact that they've tried doing that Birds of Prey film, they've also done a Suicide Squad film in the past, that they show that they're more committed to doing these sort of off-kilter, to the left of things, and sort of more random characters to see how we as an audience respond. Admittedly, I think it's rather unlikely that we would get this film, just considering that I think the DCU really needs to establish and make really sound moves moving forward rather than taking a lot of risks. But like what I said with Swamp Thing, I don't think I can completely rule out the possibility that they might do something unexpected, and I think it might be Secret 6 if they're going to do anything. My number 4 pick is going to be Cyborg. Yeah, I know that this was announced way back, but has anybody got any news that this film's still coming out? I feel like Ray Fisher and the treatment that he got as a result of Justice League, whether that be through Zack Snyder and the way that it was directed, or what happened when Joss Whedon took over, I feel like he kind of lost his opportunity and his chance to really excel as that character. I'm not going to talk about politics or anything that's happening in America or across the planet, because I don't really have the expertise to do that. However, it'd be stupid of me to ignore the fact that Marvel made Black Panther and it made over $1 billion, and it was such an important movie for a lot of people that DC hasn't really followed up with anything similar. Although I'm not going to lie, if they're going to do a film about a black superhero, I'd rather it be Jon Stewart in a Green Lantern film. I think it'd be a sensible move for DC to make a film about Cyborg and give Ray Fisher that chance to see what he could have done with the character when he's got more than 3 lines, and especially so when one of those lines was definitely deleted from the final film. And as well, if DC is trying to make a conscious effort of drumming up hype for the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League, it makes sense to also announce a film relating to one of the characters in it that didn't really get showcased that well. So out of the 10 films that I'm guessing today, I think a Cyborg film is most likely to get announced at this event. But considering none of my guesses are probably going to be correct, it doesn't really mean much. Number 3, I've got Green Lantern, and please just don't bring back Ryan Reynolds. But wasn't entirely sure if they'd be more likely to do a standalone Green Lantern film or actually just go for a Green Lantern core film. What I think would be cool if they tried to find a way to adapt Green Lantern Rebirth and acknowledge the fact that there was this awful Green Lantern film that had come out before, and having that he's been a vilified figure since then, but then recast him, maybe get someone like Nathan Fillion, and we can just go from there and pretend that the original film didn't happen. That would help to re-establish him for people who've got kind of a sour taste for the Ryan Reynolds film, but also bring it forward so that you don't need to explain too much. However, I do also think there's a chance that DC would rather take a chance with the Green Lantern core, so you can get more of that team ensemble. You could get Kilowog, you could get Guy Gardner, you could bring in Kyle Rayner and Jon Stewart, and do it as more of a team piece, and I think that could actually work better. Who knows, but I wouldn't be entirely surprised if DC did actually announce a Green Lantern product. My number 2 pick is going to be a Superman film starring Henry Cavill. So again, a lot of this is based on rumours, but there were a lot circulating recently that Henry Cavill has signed on to do another Superman film. It's It's also been said that that's not a direct Man of Steel sequel, so I'm not really sure where that leaves us, but I think given the buzz surrounding that and the fact that Henry Cavill's been quite vocal since the announcement of the Snyder Cut, I think it's actually quite likely that DC might take another chance at doing a Henry Cavill related Superman film. I can't even really begin to guess what type of storyline they might do, considering that they've already done Death and Return of Superman. Who knows, they might actually do Superman Exile, they might be going backwards chronologically from the comics. However, with the announcement that Henry Cavill's planning to come back as Superman, I think it'd be a great opportunity to seize on that hype and build it from there and announce the film that you've already got the plan for. Give us just a little bit of a hint of what you're doing as well. Don't just call it Superman or Man of Steel 2 or anything like that. Give us a title like what the MCU does where it says Civil War, Ragnarok, this just knowledgeable iconography. Give us something like that for Superman so that we can truly get hyped for a Superman film. And my number one pick for what I think DC might announce at their Jean-Claude Fandome is going to be Batgirl. I remember when the news was coming out that Joss Whedon was being approached to apparently just go in and ruin the perfect film that Zack Snyder made from the beginning, that they offered him a boatload of money, which was probably the main reason why he took it, but they also said that he can take on any DC property in his own film, and the one that he chose was Batgirl. But since then there hasn't been any news about that film at all. It's kind of just fallen off and it's kind of been forgotten about, and it's probably most likely due to the name Joss Whedon being attached to it. If they were to announce this, I don't think there's any chance it would be Joss Whedon that's coming back to direct. I think he's kind of done with comic films, and I think comic films are kind of just done with him for a bit. But regardless of that, I think DC saw the potential that could be in Batgirl with the success of Wonder Woman. They might want to follow that up with another female-led superhero film, and I think the best bet if they're going to go in that direction is going to be Batgirl. But still, I know I said that some of these were probably like the ones that I thought were most likely to actually get chosen. I do actually think that Batgirl has the best chance as well. Will it happen? I really don't know, but I'm looking forward to this event. I think it's good that we've got something to look forward to, because it seems like Marvel hasn't done too much since the coronavirus pandemic occurred. It kind of seems like the world's stopped when it comes to movies, and it's just nice to have something that can get the buzz about, we can get discussing it, and we can just look forward to these announcements and the films inevitably coming out. But that's my list, and you might think it's completely stupid, but at the end of the day, this is my opinion, and I'd like to hear yours. What films do you think DC have in the pipeline that they're due to announce soon? And are you going to come back and tell me how wrong I am when all 10 of these don't get picked? Leave that in the comments section and we can discuss it a bit further. But if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you didn't like this video, why did you get this far? Please subscribe if you haven't already, and remember to click that bell notification. I promise I'll be doing some more Marvel related videos soon. It's just that the news has all been about DC at the minute, these DC films, DC leaving Diamond, so just make sure you're subscribed and you won't miss any of them. So check out some of them, and I've got some of my other videos here, but more than anything, just keep reading, keep safe, and just keep barking all you mad dogs, and I'll see you at the next video.